Thanks again for tuning in to another episode of Bud's Hot Sports Takes. As you may have guessed it, I'm Bud. With football season here, we will be giving you the scoop of leaders from last week and where the current leader standings are, and as well as some suggestions on who your fantasy players and fantasy daily sports people who play like DraftKings and FanDuel should be picking for Sunday. Now, without further ado, your Week 3 passing leaders were Dak Prescott with 379 yards, 2 touchdowns. He was sacked 3 times and had a 91.9 rating. Caleb Williams had 363 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, sacked 4 times, had a fumble, and had an 80.8 rating. Joe Burrow had 324 yards, 3 touchdowns, sacked twice, a rating of 127.5. Andy Dalton, 319 yards, 3 touchdowns, sacked twice as well, had a rating of 123.6. And Jalen Hurts, 311 yards, 1 interception, sacked 4 times, fumbled once, and had a rating of 88.8. Your Week 3 rushing leaders were Derrick Henry with 151 yards, 2 touchdowns, Saquon Barkley, 147 yards, 2 touchdowns, Chuba Hubbard, I never really know how to pronounce that guy's first name. Anyway, 114 yards, Jonathan Taylor, 110 yards, 2 touchdowns, and David Montgomery, 105 yards and 1 touchdown. Your Week 3 receiving leaders were Jawan Jennings with 11 receptions, 175 yards, 3 touchdowns. Dallas Goedert, 10 receptions, 170 yards. Deontay Johnson, 8 receptions, 122 yards, 1 touchdown. Ja'Marr Chase, 6 receptions, 118 yards, 2 touchdowns. And Rome Odunze, 6 receptions, 112 yards, and 1 touchdown. And that 1 touchdown was also, if anyone's curious, what was Caleb Williams' first touchdown. And Rome said it would go to him, and it did. Your season leaders currently, and we will exclude all Cowboys and Giants players from this list, as they have played a 4th game and the rest of the league only 3. And so if you go to look at the leaderboard and see it's not as spoken, but then you take out guys from either one of those teams, you'll see it is what it is, what I say. Your passing leaders are Brock Purdy, 842 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception. Sacked 9 times, 109.2 rating. Geno Smith, 787 yards, 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Sacked 8 times, 93.8 rating. Jalen Hurts, 772 yards, 3 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Sacked 7 times, 85.9 rating. Matthew Stafford, 754 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, sacked 10 times, a 92.6 rating. And Gardner Minshew, 747 yards, 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, sacked 11 times, 92.4 rating. Rushing leaders, Saquon Barkley, 351 yards, 4 touchdowns. Jordan Mason, 324 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 fumble. J.K. Dobbins, 310 yards, 2 touchdowns. Alvin Kamara, 285 yards, 4 touchdowns. And Derrick Henry, 281 yards, 4 touchdowns. Receiving leaders are Nico Collins, 338 yards, 1 touchdown. Rashee Rice, 288 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 fumble. Jawan Jennings, 276 yards, 3 touchdowns. Justin Jefferson, 273 yards, 3 touchdowns. And DK Metcalf, 262 yards, 2 touchdowns. Now, the moment a lot of you have been waiting for, who to pick for your fantasy lineup for Sunday. Quarterback suggestion, CJ Stroud. He has thrown for 709 yards, 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and is playing against a defense that has given up some of the most yardage this season so far in the passing game, and he plays against Jacksonville. Honorable mention, Caleb Williams. You're about to hear some negative things before why to pick him, or, why he's a mention. Yeah, he posted second most yards last week, but he threw his arm off to do it, as he threw for 52 attempts, which is almost the exact amount of attempts he had thrown in the first 2 games combined. And two of his receivers are questionable. But if they give him full reign to throw this week, which they are facing one of the worst defenses so far in the league this week, he should still be able to put up good numbers. And he comes at a bargain basement price in both DraftKings and FanDuel. So he has some upside. It comes at a very, very cheap rate, which can, free up that capital to go ahead and spend that elsewhere to put up a good and winning team. Your running back suggestions are Chuba Hubbard. He has 192 yards, 67 receiving yards, 1 touchdown. Due to an injury, he will be leading the backfield yet again this week, and with a better quarterback than the Panthers had the first 2 games. They had that same quarterback last week, which he was one of the leaders for rushing leaders last week. So, yeah, something to that. Now, another thing to it is having a better quarterback than they had for the first 2 weeks. What that should be doing is that should open up more receiving yards for him as well as more rushing yards, as the improved passing should open up the running game, and he's playing against a team that is already having one of the worst rushing defenses in the league so far this season. And you may notice the shadow back there, I guess. That is just Caesar. He's the puppy. Anyway, also J.K. Dobbins. And I know he didn't do too well last week, but he was playing against one of the toughest defenses in the league. And last week, last week, I even said it was a gamble picking him. I still chose him, but it was a gamble because of the defense he was playing. But aside from last week, he's had a really good season so far, and in a team that needs somebody to rely on. And then this week, he's going against the Chiefs, who on average are giving up more than 40 yards per game than the Steelers. To the rushing game. They're giving up more than 40 yards per game than the Steelers via rushing. So what does this mean? It means they're a weaker rushing defense. And given Dobbins' ability that he has shown so far this season to break loose and get a big gain, he should be able to do that a time or two in this game alone. So it's a pretty good bet. Honorable mention, Saquon Barkley. And yes, I know he is going to be very hard to get this week, whether it's DraftKings or FanDuel, because of the big price tag in both of those that requires in order to go ahead and pick him. He's got a big price tag, but he's the league leader, as you guys know, in rushing, and he's playing against one of the worst defenses in the entire league so far. So you put those things together, and that spells that it should be a pretty good game for him. So if you can figure out a way to go ahead and put him on your team this week, it's a pretty safe bet that he's going to put up pretty good numbers for you. So you can do it and still put up what you think is a good team. Do it, by all means. Wide receiver suggestions are Jauan Jennings. Yes, he had a stellar game in week 3, which boosted his numbers significantly. But it showed he has the potential to put up big game numbers. And because he hasn't been used so much so far in his career, he comes with a cheap price tag. And the Patriots so far are giving up about 4th most passing yards in the league per game. So he is worth the dice roll this week. Rashee Rice. He is 2nd in the league in receiving yards and is getting about 10 targets a game with a high catch rate. So, pretty good pick because chances are he's going to get you receptions and put up good numbers. Alec Pierce. He is 9th in receiving yards, and if you know me, you know I like picking guys who get a lot of looks because more looks mean more receptions and more chances to make things happen. And Alec Pierce is not that guy. So every week he seems like a gamble to me. But he consistently does what he does. And what he does the best is he goes deep every game, makes big catches and big plays every single week. And he does know how to score. And he's always cheap. He's a cheap guy to pick up. He knows how to score. And, going across that end zone, that's 6 points automatically. And since he gets a big play, yardage is also points, right? So, and he does it consistently. So while he isn't I'm going to throw to this guy and throw to this guy and throw to this guy type guy week after week, he's dependable to put up points. Honorable mention. And yes, we're going to go with another dice roll. I know, I'm getting crazy with these wide receivers, right, this week. But for good reasons. Anyways, the honorable mention is Rome Odunze. He's building a lot of rapport with his fellow rookie quarterback, which is something you want, as they should both be teamed up for a good while. Both being rookies, right? They're on those rookie contracts. Assuming they let Caleb Williams throw his arm off again this week, and that Odunze's hip doesn't prevent him from playing. So do keep an eye on that, right? Keep an eye on that questionable tag. And especially if Keenan Allen misses another week, giving Odunze the 2 spot again, because if Keenan Allen is healthy, then Odunze goes to the 3 spot, which is the slot spot. So he's gonna be on the field a little less. So on the field less opportunity. So keep an eye on that as well. If Keenan Allen misses again and Odunze plays, he's also going against a bad defense. So, it's worth a look. Tight end suggestion. Cole Kmet. He had 11 targets and brought in 10 of them and put up a lot of yards last week. He is what you want if you are a quarterback, especially a young quarterback in the league, out of your tight end, he is your typical huge target, aka hard to miss tight end, right? He's a big target for you to hit. And he has exceptional hands. It is very rare that Kmet doesn't catch the ball. He has sure hands and he's a huge target. And after last week, especially when he was grabbing all of those third down conversions for Williams, that he has earned trust with him. So he should be a guy he should be looking at. And just like I said for Rome Odunze this week, the defense he is playing against is weak. Honorable mention, Brock Bowers. Duh. Yes, Dallas Goedert just had a monster game and is going against one of the worst defenses in the league. But his quarterback, Jalen Hurts, can spread the ball around, and he does spread the ball around. He can do it, and he loves to do it. So it's just a gamble that he picks him again, which, he might. But Brock Bowers, week after week, is either first or second on the Raiders in targets. And he has a massive catch ratio. Meaning, yes, he gets thrown to a lot, but he brings those catches in. He is going to get those reception points and yard points guaranteed. And yes, he has yet to make it in the end zone and get a touchdown yet. But with his volume, what that means is the kid is certainly due to get a TD. And touchdowns, again, are 6 points. He's due. Just way too much volume for him to continually not get in that end zone. Flex, as always, look at my honorable mentions, minus quarterback and defense. Defense suggestion. People might think I'm crazy, but the Jets. The Jets' defense has been looking strong and continually looking stronger each week. And this week are going against a team with a rookie quarterback who, yes, I know, and given time, still think he might be the best quarterback of his draft class. But so far this season aside, from rushing touchdowns, which he has 2 of those, and he's also leading his team in rushing, he has no touchdowns other than rushing touchdowns. And he's thrown 4 interceptions. And the Jets' defense is looking strong and are improving each week. So this may be the week to go ahead and pick them for your defense. Honorable mention is the Steelers. And that's just simply, that defense is going to get you points. You're not going to get negative. You're not going to get 0. You are going to score some points with this defense. It's guaranteed. That defense scores points. May not be a lot of points, but typically you don't look for a lot of points with your defenses anyway. Sometimes you get lucky, because you get like a pick 6 or a guy runs one back, which also for some reason goes on the defense score. But even if somehow it's a high scoring game, which happens, doesn't usually happen in a week that the Steelers play, in a game that the Steelers play, but they do happen, so I doubt it'll be a high scoring game, but sacks and interceptions are going to happen. And that wraps up another episode of Bud's Hot Sports Takes. Tune in again next week, and as always, don't be afraid to dislike, so you can like or not like my video, subscribe, and or comment. You can do all that below. And thanks for tuning in.